Hello, A's fans, and welcome to Athletics Avenue. I'm here with Jason Slusher. How you doing today, Jason?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
Good, good. All right, so we got a lot of stuff to go through here. We got the draft that just happened, where the A's took Nick Kurtz, the Wake Forest first baseman, with the fourth overall pick in the draft. Jason, how do we feel about that pick with Kurtz forward to the A's?
I'm feeling pretty good. We needed a good first baseman in the draft, and they got him with Kurtz.
Yeah,
In the 164 games he played in the three seasons at Wake Forest, he hit 333 with 61 home runs and 102 RBIs.
yeah.
That's something you just can't match. There's a lot of power with him, and there's
Mhm,
a lot of good leadership there. He was the captain of the team this year, and
mhm.
I believe that he's going to be the next um, big guy for the A's.
Yeah, I do think that's a really big pick for them. Lots of power at first base. So it'll be interesting to see how the A's move forward. Now, obviously, they have Tyler Soderstrom at first base, Ryan Noda if he eventually comes back up. So they have a lot of options at first base, but I'm sure Nick Kurtz in the long run is going to be the guy for the A's. And one of my other favorite picks actually happened in the second round right after Kurtz. We had Tommy Tanks at 40. He was the 20th ranked prospect, and they went under slot and grabbed him in the second round. How do you feel about Tommy Tanks?
He did fantastic too. He's a definite contact guy with that upside of power. He
Yeah.
had 75 home runs in his college career, and that's huge for what the A's need to do with their prospects. Um, I think I think he'll start like high single A or double A even, just to start his track up to the majors because he's going to be a good replacement for the guys we got right now.
Yeah, I know. And I think the one concern is maybe defensively, where does he fit in? Obviously, you got Geloff, probably the long-term second baseman. Obviously Nick Kurtz right ahead of him at first base. So third base is really, I mean, that's what they called him in the draft was a third baseman, but I don't know, will his defense be good enough to stick around at third base for the A's in the long run? But I guess we'll have to find out and see. They also went under slot in the third round and got LSU left-hander Gage Jump. He kind of reminds me of like a little Kyle Muller, maybe a little long-term man, left-handed pitcher. That was also another underslot pick, like I mentioned. Um, do you have anything else about Gabe Jump that I'm missing? I
I
don't.
mean, it's nice that they selected another LSU guy right there, right after
Yeah, yeah.
White. But he is just coming back from Tommy John surgery in 2023,
Hmm.
so it's kind of scary to see what he's going to turn into. But he looks pretty solid with a 3.47 ERA this spring, 100 strikeouts. You know, he's a little undersized, but I think he's going to do pretty solid in minor leagues.
Yeah, I like the pick too. It kind of caught me by surprise. That's not who I thought they were going to get. I thought Dakota Jordan was on the board. I like his power as an outfielder. And he actually dropped a few extra rounds too, so I'm surprised he was still there too. Following that pick, they took the Rutgers infielder Joshua Kuroda Grauer with the 75th overall pick. He's an infielder for Rutgers. That I believe was an overslot pick. So there's that. After him was Rodney Green out of California. Sam Stewart, Romeo, rather. Dylan Bean, who I think is a high school kid too, so get some high schoolers in there as well. And Davis
Yeah,
Diaz
we
from
get
Vanderbilt.
they drafted only two high schoolers in the first eight picks that they had.
Yeah,
So I mean, that's still a 25% chance, or 25% pick rate that they had for high schoolers.
yeah,
But that they're very focused on collegiate athletes for this draft.
yeah. Yeah, they definitely were. And obviously then with the 226th pick, they took Davis Diaz out of Vanderbilt. He was called as a catcher, interestingly enough. But actually I went back and looked at his stuff. He was really an infielder for Vanderbilt most of the time. So it'll be interesting to see how maybe in the minor leagues they have him catch a little bit, even though there is a lot of catching in the A system right now. Daniel Suzak is coming up soon. Obviously, you already got Shea and Sode, who could maybe stay for a little while longer at catcher. And so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, especially because Dylan Feen also a catcher. So that'll be cool. Um, then with the 256th pick, they went with Jared Sprague Lott and Cameron Leary, who's a Boston College outfielder. Pretty cool. Um, at 286. And then today, so far, we're actually recording this at the time of the draft. They went with Kyle Robinson, who is the 182nd ranked um, prospect, and they took him at 316. He's a Texas Tech right-hander, and he's a 60 grade changeup. So that changeup is going to be one of his best pitches, and it'll see how be interesting to see how he can develop in the minor leagues with the A's. But Kyle Robinson, yeah, is it upsetting that he dropped that far? Is that a bad thing? Is there concerns with him?
Then you got to wonder whatever was not seeing him now. Big right hander. He was mostly a bullpen guy this year, but he had a 5 ERA, so that may have dropped a little bit. But
Yeah,
it's tough to tell. But I think he has potential. He's going to be a great pitcher for the system.
yeah, for sure. And then the last pick that we have up to recording this video was Texas A&M shortstop Ali Camarillo. He's a 60 grade fielder, by the way, and he was the 246th ranked prospect, and they took him at 346, so 100 rounds later than he was projected to go. And what were your thoughts on Camarillo down like the College World Series stretch?
Well, I watched a lot of the College World Series because I'm
Mm.
a big fan of his the Texas teams,
Yeah,
and it was amazing to see him play. He's just a defensive like warrior. You couldn't find anyone better than him. And even with his contact, he was getting his bat on the ball constantly. It tough. The other teams he was playing against just was always all over that ball and making an impact for his team.
yeah, that's awesome. Really awesome. So that's all the picks that we have up to right now. Um, what would you say out of all of the picks so far for the A's? What was your favorite pick, you think? Maybe like the best value pick or just your favorite pick in general for the A's down the stretch.
You know, like I said, I do like Texas A&M. Yeah, he is pretty high up there for me. But the first baseman Nick, you can't go wrong with that. Fourth overall, he's going to be a heavy hitter in the lineup, and I think he's going to make the most impact. Um, amongst all these prospects that we had just drafted. But I don't know. The third baseman Tommy White at LSU, I think he has some potential to come up and take over third and show some promise for this organization.
Yeah. I'd say for me, I think, yeah, I like Nick Kurtz. I like Tommy Tanks. But I'm going to go down to the third round, who didn't get much talking about, Josh Kuroda Grauer, the Rutgers guy. I mean, over his time with Rutgers, I mean, he won so many awards. Just to, like name a few here, we have the 2024 Big Ten Player of the Year, 2024 First Team All-American with perfect games and rawings, the 2024 Third Team All-American, the 2024 District 2 Player of the Year, the 2024 All Big Ten First Team. So many awards that he's won with them. And I mean, his batting average, his stats in total with Rutgers was really impressive. So I'm excited to see how there's a lot of infielders in the A's organization right now, especially middle infielders. So we'll see how they arrange that in the lower minor leagues. But I really do like Joshua Kuroda Grauer. And but I'd say Tommy White is also, I mean, to go under slot at 40 after going over slot with the fourth overall pick. I really do like Tommy White there as well. And obviously, like I said, Nick Kurtz. I think that is just the best pick. He's going to bring lots of power to the team over the next few years and hopefully leadership as well, like he did at Wake Forest.
Yeah, and just like you said, we got plenty of guys in the middle infield there. Obviously the number one in the A's organization, Jacob Wilson, he's going to make a huge impact next year. And then you got, correct me if I'm wrong, number four is Daryl Hernandez. I don't know how to say his last name,
Yeah, yeah.
but he's projected to be up there. And there's a lot of guys they have that if they bring them up at the right time, they're going to make the most impact that they can. I'll say this because I'm a Tigers fan, but Torkelson was brought up a little bit too early, and you see now
Yeah.
what's happened with him is he's back down the minors, struggling to find his groove again. As a Tigers fan, you hope to see that he will make his way back up, but you bring
Mhm.
him up too early, they may not work out how you want them to.
Yeah, like with that, do you think that with Nick Kurtz, Is there any like, thing that the A's should take in note as, since Torkelson may have been, called up too early and stuff, does that mean that you think Kurtz should spend a few years in the minors, or what does that mean, do you think, for Nick Kurtz and the A's?
Well, like even like with Jackson Holiday, he was brought up pretty early and he struggled a little bit. I
Mhm.
think that these first overall picks in all these different leagues, even NHL, NBA, NFL, all those, they should spend a little bit of time trying to learn before they're just thrown out there because it's really tough for these guys to just struggle because then their confidence goes down and then you have trouble trying to get them to come back up and be who they are supposed to be because they just don't have the confidence to do so. But,
Yeah.
you know, I have a feeling that, even though he was drafted at number 4, he still has that chance of being able to spend a year or two in the minors, develop that swing a little bit more, make sure he's doing all right against, AAA pitchers and then bring him up. I don't think we should rush into anything because, we do have a couple of guys that are pretty solid first basemen right now. And
Yeah.
I think that in a few years, we'll have a really solid team.
Yeah. I'm really curious how that's going to affect Tyler Soderstrom. I feel like he's done a pretty good job over there at first base, yeah, after making the conversion from being a catcher to first base. He did some with AAA Las Vegas, and he went back up to the big leagues this year, and he's proved why he's a starting first baseman. Now, he is on the injured list right now. Seth Brown is back up for him. But I think that Tyler Soderstrom, like for the future of this organization, like deserves that opportunity because he's done a really good job. And so does Noda. Noda last year was a really good first baseman for the team. So I'm sure they have a lot of options here, but it's a good problem to have, right? Having a lot of guys being able to play that position for them. And back to the prospects real quick. Something we didn't mention was the number 2 prospect, Luis Morales. He just represented the A's in the Futures game, which is pretty awesome. And just to think, a few years ago, Shea Langoliers represented the A's, and he actually won the Futures game MVP. So it's a really cool event, and really awesome that number 2 prospect, Luis Morales, got to be part of that.
So you got to take a question. You got to take this question into account here. What happens when Nick is ready and Chris is ready, and we still have Seth Brown or Ryan Noda or I'm blanking on the other guy right now, but what if we still have those guys and do we just try to play them, make sure they play well, and then try to trade them for something and then bring up Kurtz because yeah, it's a really good problem to have a bunch of great players at a position, but
Yeah.
there's a certain point where someone's going to get annoyed where they're at, and it's not going to work out well for the team. And we just want to make sure that we got you know, the best morale in the clubhouse.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And I think that at least the only thing I can say is that, I mean, Seth Brown, I mean, you can always put him in the outfield. Maybe even Ryan Noda could get a go in the outfield. So I feel like you could move some of those guys. And obviously, trades are going to happen, over the next, the course of even right now until the trade deadline and the next offseason. So there's going to be a lot of time for trades to be made. And I think Nick Kurtz is going to be our future first baseman no matter what. And I don't know if he can play the outfield at all. I haven't really read into his defense that much, so I'm not sure about that. But I know what David Force said that he's willing to move people around. The best guys are going to get an opportunity to play on the big stage. So I think it's just
And
in terms of development, give him a few years, see what we got, and
and it scares me that Tommy White says that he might switch to a first baseman as well. You know,
yeah,
I can see it kind of like the Miguel Cabrera situation where he plays third for most of his career and then switches to first as he doesn't as he can't like move around as much
yeah,
anymore. But
yeah,
I still think that's a little bit of a concern too that they're already saying that he might be first.
yeah. It is scary to think about. Yeah, I mean, again, like I said, it's a good problem, but at the same time, yeah, you got a lot of guys that are playing first base, and it's nice to have. I mean, go back to the Matt Chapman days when you have a guy at third base who's just making all the plays for you, and it's hit his way. You can chill out because he's going to make the play. And even this year, Brett Harris is doing a really good job at third base. I don't know what his future looks like in the A's within the next few years, but he's done a very good job at third base defensively. So it's nice to have someone like that, but at the same time, we'll see. I hope he doesn't fall in that Jordan Diaz trap either, where you know, you can't find that position, and then then the hitting falls off. So want to keep him confident, and yeah,
Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying. It's kind of tough when someone, falls off like that,
Yeah, but
especially someone you have so much promise with.
yeah, yeah. So we'll see how the rest of the draft concludes. Nair Gomez could not be with us today. Unfortunately, he'll be on with us next time. But this was A's Avenue. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you next time, A's fans.